Hello, guys. This is Anastasia Stoyanova, and this is a new episode of my podcast today. Thank you if you're listening to this or if you're watching a video version on YouTube. You're welcome, and I'm happy to be with you today. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk briefly about CELPIP exam. And this kind of exam is very important because that's what helps you get your permanent residence in Canada. And today I'd like to introduce a little bit and talk about this exam, the preparation phase with practical strategies, and also my experience of the test day and getting the results. Also my experience of becoming a CELPIP instructor, because I hold the certification that allows me to teach CELPIP. And I'll give you some practical insights and takeaways. All right, so let's get started. And first and foremost, I'd like to tell you that before I went to take CELPIP, of course, I've had experience of teaching English for over 10 years, right? So do not attribute my success only, to preparation. It's the whole path that I had as a teacher that helped me go and just take it and be successful. Because interestingly, I got interested in getting the professional instructor certification after I took this exam. And the reason I took this exam is that because one of my colleagues from the language school recommended me to do so. He said, if you compare CELPIP and IELTS, CELPIP is much more better. And I said, oh, well, why? At that point, I had experience of taking IELTS. And IELTS, both general and academic, I was taking IELTS for my professional certification, so it was not connected with my status in Canada. But for my PR, I recommended CELPIP, and I recommended that to all of my friends, all of my, other relatives or colleagues. I mean, not relatives. I don't have relatives here. Sorry, like friends and colleagues. And I told them that, if you want to take an exam, take CELPIP. Why? Because it's North American accent. On IELTS, you get all kinds of accents. You get British accent, you get Irish, all kinds of those accents that we don't really need if we live in Canada. For me, North American accent is a standardized accent. I do teach the accent lessons as well. And I'm the one also who tried to improve my accent all of my life, and I'm still working on it, So North American accent in the listening. Also, the listening has the options to choose from, A, B, C, D. That makes it great. While on the IELTS exam, you sometimes have to write the missing word into the gap, so that makes it more difficult. The same goes when it comes to reading. Reading, you always have options like A, B, C, D, and you don't have to write like the missing word. On IELTS, on some reading tasks, you have to do that. And the reading tasks are much more varied on IELTS. On CELPIP, it's all about structure. You learn the structure, how the test is structured. You learn the strategies, some key ideas, how to do this or that task, and you succeed. Because IELTS throws more surprises at you, right? And you have to hit the books constantly. You have to study constantly. When it comes to CELPIP, there is no such thing. It's very predictable, very structured, very organized. So there are many other advantages, even in every part. So I talked about listening and reading, and I tried to compare it with CELPIP. So for writing and speaking, the same thing. For writing, on CELPIP, it's much more Canada life related because you have to write an email and you have to respond to a survey. While on CELPIP, it's a very strict essay, usually something that has nothing to do with life in Canada, trust me. So, and it's much more structured, and they expect a lot from you. They expect that as if you're a professional writer, Because for Canadian immigration, if you want to succeed and get the maximum score, you have to get 9, CLB 9 on CELPIP, and that's not an easy task at all. Right? It's like you have to get the hang of the strategies, the exam, and of course get the hang of the language itself, right? You have to go the extra mile, so to say. So that's why for IELTS, it's even harder, right? Sometimes people, after taking IELTS, they feel as if they have to go to square one, just go back and start learning the English language again. So my reasoning is that if you're already in Canada, or if you are in one of those countries that allows you to take CELPIP, take CELPIP instead of IELTS, right? Everything you should need for the CELPIP preparation is on celpip.ca website. It's an official website. You register and you book the test. The test is kind of pricey. It's no less than 300 Canadian dollars, I believe so. It's even more expensive than that right now. I think it's like over 320, something like that, plus tax. So you want to make sure you prepare yourself, and here is the perfect timing for me to tell you that I do have a preparation course. Back in the day when I was preparing for the exam as a teacher, I always search for something that is structured and organized, and there was no such thing when it came to CELPIP. There was no course that would be structured and organized and that would allow me to prepare within a short period of time. So I created this course based on my CELPIP instructors training, based on my experience working with students. I started teaching CELPIP in 2023, at the beginning of the year, I think. So it's been 3 years now, as of now, which is the fall of 2025. So 3 years. CELPIP is my niche, so something I focus on. I help other people to immigrate to Canada and get maximum scores. So I created this course, and you might want to check this out on my website, englishstoyanova.ca. You have English and then my last name, English, Stoianova, stoyanova.ca. There are 3 options how you can take the course. You can take the course in your own time. Just watch the recordings and do the practice tests with me, go over strategies. If you want the feedback on your writing and speaking, there are also 2 more options that you could book a session with me and we can practice. And there is a VIP option to take the course as well. Right. So I think back then, this is what I lacked. I was searching online and nothing as organized as I created came up. So that's why. I think every exam has this steep learning curves, meaning it's kind of difficult to learn. It requires a lot of effort and in a short time, right? So it's a steep learning curve, but there's always the light at the end of the tunnel. There is always this result if you put much money, time, and effort. And definitely I have to wear 2 hats, right? Because I've been in the shoes of a student, of a test taker, and I am in the shoes of a teacher. And I think this is what benefits me most, because I am wearing 2 hats. I'm a both former test taker and an immigrant to Canada, and I understand the stress and the pressure. But I'm also an instructor who knows the insider strategies and who can teach you. So without further ado, let me talk about the test a little bit more. So the first time I took the test, I hit all the highest scores, all the maximum scores for immigration. I hit 9 in writing, I hit 10 in listening, I hit 12 out of 12 in reading, and I got 12 out of 12 in speaking. Well, reading and speaking have always been my strong suit, have always been my strong side. So writing was a bit harder because you have to type on the computer, and I did not have much time to prepare back then. It's not an excuse, I know, but still 9 is the dream for a lot of people. I believe if I want to just go and retake it for fun sometime, I can, and I'll be able to see that I've improved a lot because I've been typing a lot on the computer. I've started working more online and doing more things online and improving my computer literacy as well. It's a part of the skill, by the way, to be able to type fast, whatever you're thinking in English. So it takes time to get used to that. So yeah, I had great results, and as you could see, even reading and speaking, I got maximum. So I had no mistakes, 12 out of 12. My speaking was immaculate. I was like a native speaker, though I'm not born in Canada, right? I'm an immigrant, but I've been learning and teaching the language all my life. So of course, if I compare myself to native speakers, a lot of people say, oh, I want a native speaker as a teacher. That's not a good idea, because native speakers, if they don't have the specific education, like they're not educated in the English language and literature or in the linguistics, they are not going to be able to explain well. They are not going to be able to do things as well as people who learn the language do, because we've been through this stress, we've been through this process of acquiring the language, right? Not just getting the language and taking it for granted. I apologize to all of the native speakers. I just kind of offended, But native speakers did not put any effort unless they actually had some background and some education to be able to teach. Because most of native speakers go like, oh, I'm an English native speaker, I'll just teach. And then they start teaching without knowing what they're doing, right? And that's a big problem. So think carefully and choose the person who has professional training, certificates, and all of those good things, right? Not just, oh, I was born in Canada, I'll teach you. It doesn't work like that. You have to have certain specific experience, and yeah, here we go. So be careful and choose your teacher wisely. And I want to go back to CELPIP a little bit and just some quick perspectives and strategies. So again, I don't want to go and get deeper into that, because that's what I do in my course, but and there's not enough time, right? I try to make my podcast short, but I'll just tell you a couple of things. So for the listening part, listening requires lots of concentration and is the first part of the test. It consists of 6 tasks, and each task gets more difficult. So they start from daily life English, very easy, simple questions like what did he say, what did she say, but then it gets harder. So part 4, 5, 6 are the hardest. Part 4, understanding the news. So you might think, okay, I have to start listening to Canadian news. That's how you improve. And then the next part 5, so part 4 news, part 5, there's a video that's more professional discussion. And also you have to practice for that, because they have very specific questions there, and you have to be able to understand 3 people who agreed with who. It requires lots of effort. The last part is the most challenging, because it's understanding the report. And the report is on the topic of, let's say, the environmental problems or the unemployment crisis in Canada, some social and economic things. So you also have to make sure you understand different viewpoints and how people express their viewpoints. So it's for higher level, right? However, I do recommend doing all of the tasks. Doesn't matter what kind of level you have. Try to choose all of the answers. Do not skip the answers. Maybe you just take an educated guess and you end up being right. So my advice for you guys is to try to do your best and listen a lot, like every day, at least for 1 hour of English listening, like you're doing right now if you're preparing for the test. Then the second part is reading. And reading has 4 parts, and also from easier to harder. The first part is you read an email and you answer based on the email. The most important advice here is to start from the questions. Do not waste your time reading first and then looking at the questions. Look at the questions and read. Look and read. Look and read. In the second part, it's a brochure or a diagram, they call like that, but basically you see some advertisement or some kind of text that's a visual text, and you have to work with a visual text, and then you have to answer based on this visual text. What helps here is to actually Google more examples of brochures. Let's say you are you want to sign up for a driving course, so you're looking at the website, and you have to be able to understand the snippets of text that are visual, right? Be it some advertisement or diagram, or let's say job postings, right? Because there's also this visual part, and then they ask you questions based on that. And there's always an email. Person is writing an email regarding the advertisement. So you kind of have to be able to work with both. And it takes time, and this task has certain caveats and certain strategies. Parts 3 and 4 are for more advanced English learners and test takers, because they are about history, geography. In the third part, you have the text broken down into paragraphs, and you have to match which idea fits which paragraph. And the problem here is that there are no clear rules how many times each paragraph can be used, right? So like, let's say you might match 3 statements to the first paragraph, 1 statement to the second, and 2 statements to the third, and so forth. So there is no mathematical logic in there. They only purely test your understanding here. And of course, the last part of the reading, I think, is the most challenging, because it's the website with some topic that goes deeper. It's like, imagine people are expressing their viewpoints regarding some sports activities in Canada. And this is an easy example, because usually they go really deep, and they talk about things like healthcare, or they talk about things that are related to the economy of Canada. So there's this website article, there are questions to test how well you understand viewpoints, and then there is the comment regarding this website article. And here, I would suggest reading a lot. Of course, surround yourself with all kinds of articles, just some common things like cbc.ca, right? If you live in a particular area, search what other news articles are available, because usually some media sources, they not only do they offer some news, but also they offer some other things like opinion articles, or articles related to economy. So it's not only about politics if you read the news, right? There's the Toronto Star, for example, that you could download the app and read if you live in Toronto or in GTA. If you don't want to spend any money on subscriptions, you could just start with cbc.ca to practice, to listen. So, and then we go into writing and speaking. So the writing is writing an email, but you have to understand that there are so many types of emails. So there is an email of complaint, which is very popular, right? There is an email of apology. There is an email that provides suggestions to something. Or there is very often you get formal one. So don't expect like an email to your friend. It can be the case, but you gotta understand that they want to give you a challenge, so they will give you some kind of email that is more formal. So be prepared. And on my course, I provide some snippets, some nice cliches that you can learn, and you can build the skeleton for your writing. And so in the second part of the writing, because there are 2 parts, the first one takes about 27 minutes, and the second one 26 minutes. So you see, about an hour. It's always about an hour, but only speaking, it goes really fast, but I'll get into that in a moment. So with the second part is answering a survey question. You got to be really specific and choose one point. The common mistake that I keep seeing with people and with students who come and who have no experience, they start going like 50-50. I support both options. Let's say they ask you like, we're going to offer free courses in your area, free language courses. First option, free English language courses. Second option, free French English courses. So you gotta make your choice and you gotta provide the justification why you think your choice is more relevant or makes more sense in this context. It's a very interesting task, and it's not an essay per se. It's not an essay as it is. It's more, they want to actually see how you can formulate your opinion and your arguments. That's kind of similar to an essay, but in a more free way. And there are some useful cliches and skeletons that you could also use, like some sentences that you could use to build your answer, because they do expect you to put this in a certain way. The first time when I was taking this, I got like 9, and that's a dream score for a lot of people, but I do have lots of experience when it comes to writing, lots of experience. But over time, I figured that back then when I was taking the exam, I wrote so many things that were not structured well. Like, I would structure it so much better because I know the nature of this kind of text right now. So just looking back upon reflection, I feel like I would do so much better, because it takes time, it takes practice, and it takes training. Because I did this instructor certification and training for CELPIP. So also some kind of steep learning curve when it comes to writing, because being honest, we don't write that much, right? I mean, we do write emails, but we don't write the survey answers every day. So it's not a piece of cake, for sure. Writing has never been a piece of cake, has never been something very easy to do. But speaking, on the other hand, speaking can be easy for some people because there is no examiner. You only record yourself. You see the questions popping up on the screen, and you just record your answers, and then the person listens to your answers, and then they give feedback. It's well organized and structured, and the format is logical. So just make sure with speaking, I think a lot of people throw in the towel. They want to quit because of the timer. It pisses them off. It makes them angry. But it's just, again, with patience, with practice, and with love comes the results, right? There's no cutting corners here. You have to just be consistent and do not sacrifice quality. If you can hire a teacher like myself, professional, who can guide you and teach you how to tackle the speaking tasks, do that. And that will be a game changer. You can improve your scores. You can, so it will significantly improve your situation if you practice with a professional, with a trained professional who can guide you. Because there are 8 tasks, and it starts also from the easier and then goes into the hardest. They start with something like give advice to someone you know and give their reasoning for it. And then they ask you, in the second part, they ask you to tell a story about your life, like what did you do last year to celebrate your birthday? And then you have to express exactly. And it's very short time. It's like 1 minute per task, almost for every task, apart from task 7, they give you 1 minute and a half, and the first task they give you a bit of time, 1 minute and a half, just for you to get adjusted, to get used to the situation and the recording itself. Okay, so in the third one, there is a picture, you describe the picture, and then in the part 4, you make predictions based on this picture. In part 5, you persuade someone, like your colleague or your friend, that your choice is better. You're giving the choices. You need to click and make a choice. For example, you want to buy a new fridge, and there are 2 options on the screen, and you have to choose one option and persuade your mother that your choice is better. For example, like this. And then we have part 6, 7, 8, so 3 more parts. Overall, there are 8 parts in the speaking, and they start from easier to harder. So part 6 is a bit harder. It's called dealing with a difficult situation. So they give you some context. For example, let's say you are working for a company and you are really friendly with one of the colleagues, and the context is as follows. Talk to a boss because the boss said that he will fire your friend because he hasn't been a good worker. Or talk to a friend, tell them that you know that they're gonna fire him or her, and persuade your friend to work better, something like that. So very interesting and challenging situations. So you might want to practice. My tip, practice with the teacher. In number 7, they ask you to express an opinion on some topical issue. For example, do you think it would be a good idea to do something? Like, do you think it would be a good idea to renew your driver's license every 5 years and retake the driver's test? Yeah? You have to say yes or no clearly here. No fluffing around and saying 50-50, both options are good. No, you have to say yes, that's a good idea, or no, I don't agree with this statement, and give your reasoning. So that's part 7, and we are coming to the final part of the speaking, which is describing an unusual situation, and usually it's a role play, so you have to give a call to someone, and then they give you the context. For example, call your friend and invite him to come to this party, and they give you a picture, and you have to make a call and describe the situation that you see in the picture, and then do a follow-up, like invite your friend to this party. Or maybe sometimes it's a crazy, strange situations. I still remember my task that I had on my CELPIP. Like, I had this picture where the kids were skiing, but they were skiing in the sand. And can you imagine? It's like the task, call your friend and describe how your kids are spending their beach holiday. So it's sometimes the pictures are not very logical. I have so many students these days, and some of my students share with me, and just upon reflection, and I ask them, oh, what kind of crazy task did you have for task A? And then they start saying, okay, one example, like, oh, I had there was a picture of different clowns in a circus, and you had to call your friend and talk about your weekend with your family and with your kids, and how you went to the circus, and things like that. Invite your friend as a follow-up. Invite them to go to the circus with you next time, and the picture shows crazy clowns. So it's very unusual. That's why it's called describing an unusual situation, or working with an unusual situation. They give you a picture and you make this role play. So as you could see, and you have time constraints. It's not like you speak, only 1 minute, you record your voice, and then the recording stops, and then it goes to the second task. And then they give you almost always, they give you 1 minute to read and then 1 minute to speak, almost for every speaking task. Just remember that there is no way you can cut corners with CELPIP preparation. It means you need to practice every single section thoroughly. And yeah, it's not a piece of cake. You have to also be able to think outside of the box sometimes. You have to think outside the box, because you have to be creative when it comes to writing, but not creative, like not too creative. So you have to approach sometimes in an unconventional way, approach your writing, but at the same time you have to stick to the script when it comes to structure. So I hope that it was a nice overview, a quick overview. Just remember that CELPIP is great. If you're already in Canada, it makes much more sense to take this instead of IELTS. And I always welcome you. And please take a look at my preparation course. It's very good. I keep updating the course. I keep renewing the materials every year and improving and adding more stuff there. And it definitely is good value for money if you look at it. So I hope that you are going to succeed, and I hope you're going to immigrate and enjoy your life in Canada. Feel free to give me a comment, or just reach out and we can schedule some lessons with me or my team. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.